picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
I love you.
I am Groot.
Well, hello, it is the week before Christmas of 2017, and it's going to be a weird week because trying to get some stuff done, trying to get Christmas packages wrapped, trying to get orders out. It doesn't seem to stop. The no rest for the wicked type of thing. I'm working on the carbonite freezing display, and going to be working on the prawn on the lawn. We'll get in as much work as we can this week. It's going to be catch as catch can. So I'll beg your indulgence, and let's get on with it. Okay, first pay no attention to the droid laying on its back there. What we're interested in is this guy. And I'm on my second round now of polishing and pointing up this seam and sanding it and priming it, sanding it some more. So as we get that ready, this is a ridiculously easy, simple kit because I've already got this part done. All I gotta do is insert it when I'm done. I just need to get this seam taken care of, paint it, paint the details here, and then we'll be done. So I've tried to pick something easy to finish out the year. Let's see how far we get. Good morning, it is Tuesday and welcome back, and working on the carbonite slab today, and I was just rummaging through my auto paints to see what kind of metallics I had, and I've come up with this quicksilver metallic from Duplicolor, and I'm going to give it a couple spritzes on this now that I've got everything masked off, and see how well it turns out. And here is the nice and finished carbonite frame. Now, anybody who knows anything about painting anything with metallics knows metallics will show off every little flaw and bump. So I'm just not going to sweat it. I've got it smoothed out as much as I can. And I know that there's still some bumps and stuff in it, but it's resin. It's an imperfect surface. It's going to have that. And the making of a carbon-free subject is a bit of a mystery because you saw Han, when he went down into the carbon freezing chamber, he went down by himself, and then suddenly, somehow, this frame was frozen in around him, and he was only in the center of it, but you never saw him step into anything. So I've often wondered, was the frame made at the same time, or does it clamp him from both sides, or what is the mechanism for that, and how do the electronics get on the sides? Things you don't think about when you're watching it when you're, you know, back in the 80s, but you think about it now. So now that these are all clean, now that that part's all done, I can go in here and start detailing these side pieces. Welcome back. It is Wednesday morning, and I am getting on to the painting of the side boxes on the carbonite chamber, and I'm really just making this up on my own. This is obviously an adaptation of what was in the film, so I'm not going to have to be such a stickler to canon as far as that. I was looking up pictures. Everything is metal on metal on metal, and it's kind of boring. So I'm going to try to put some jazz in here, and I'm deciding what colors I'm going to make the frame. I think I'm going to go with a burnt metal for this outer frame, with a darker, maybe a gunmetal in the recesses, and perhaps a silver highlight around those boxes. So first step is to put this pale burnt metal on. Okay, I've got the biggest parts painted on, and I'm starting to cut off the fiber optics so that I can paint that raised trim. I can't really get around the fibers to get to those, but hopefully you can see this is burnt metal. This is a darker color. This is inside the areas I painted a dark blue, black, some reds in here, and now like I said, I'm cutting these down to the surface so that I can paint that raised trim. Well, all the fibers are trimmed down, and I only caught one in the eye before I smartened up and put my mask over, or my visor over my face so that I wouldn't get any more, but they had seemingly had a vengeance for me, because every time I'd snip one, it would jump out at my face. But those are all cleaned down now and looking much more like a control panel than a jungle of fibers. So now is the time to do some tiny detail trim, and I may try to put a googly eye in there, or one or two googly eyes in there to cover up bulbs. Let's see how that works. Okay, now that I've gotten this far down the line, I'm starting to think about how I want to display this little beastie, and I didn't want to lay it down flat because that's, you know, kind of boring. I want them to stand them up, so either you lean them against something or you just stand it, and I wanted to build up some sort of background or some sort of back plate for it. So went to the local hardware store and got a couple of these. I will sink these bolts down into the fiberglass here, and then I'm going to have a board with chain so that I can kind of hang it like that from there. So that's the nuts and bolts of it. See what I did there? Nuts and bolts. So let's get these guys installed. Alright, took a little bit of hammering and chiseling and cussing at the moon, but there, we've got both of our chains in. It's two chains. It's off the chain right now, but it's two chains carbon is what I'm calling this. Nice. Now, if it weren't raining outside, I would cut the MDF for the back of this for the stand, but I can't, so I won't. This may be as far as we get today. Okay, it's Thursday night, and it's been a slow day for progress on this guy. The carbonite base is mostly done. Outside of attaching the victim, I've got the chains hooked up the way I like them. I've got this framework built up. Didn't come out exactly the way I wanted it, so I'm going to beat it up some tomorrow and throw some Bondo at it to break up the texture and make it look rockier or more irregular. Maybe cover up these the brackets there, and then this will kind of hang in here. That's how it's designed. I gotta get far enough back so you can see what I'm talking about. It will hang in a sort of alcovey type of thing, and then we'll paint it with the sorry, noisy thing, with the stone texture and get it looking more organic. But we'll see how much of this we can actually get done tomorrow. Well, good morning. It's Friday. It's the last work day of the week, and it's also the day before Christmas. So I am trying to finish up this base or the stand for the carbonite base and get that all done this weekend. Pre-holidays, and that'll leave me next week to work on the prawn. So what I've done is I've taken this MDF that I put together yesterday, and I just beat up the edges with a Dremel to make it look more rock-like. And now I'm going to get some Bondo and make this, fill in this corner here, kind of make things look a little bit more organic, and maybe do a couple passes with the Bondo, and then I'll be able to paint it with the rock colored texture paint, and we'll go from there. Okay, I have finished applying the Bondo to the MDF, and boy does this house smell. So I'm going to rush this thing outside so it can cure out on the back deck there while the Bondo sets up, because that's not a smell you want in your house on Christmas weekend. And while the base or the background for this is curing up outside, I figured I'd go ahead and do the reveal of the subject of our carbon freezing display, and it is none other than, yes, it's Baby Groot. Baby Groot in carbonite, life size, at least at this point. I love this thing. I saw it on RPF. A guy had put it up for sale in the junkyard, and it was just perfect. I had to get myself one. Right down to the little drool out of the mouth and a little tear out of the eye, and the hands in the right pose, everything. I've seen many subjects in carbonite, Jar Jar, and other things like that, but barring the chance to get an actual size Han and carbonite table, I figured this was the next best thing, and I can make a smaller display out of it. So all I need to do now is wait for the base to get cured up and I'll start painting on it. But you can see the little festive Christmas lights on this side. Okay, I'll grant you it's a bit of a rush because I wanted to have something to show for the end of the video. But here is the final Groot in carbonite hanging in his alcove. Now, this obviously needs a lot more painting done, and I've got to put the felt on the back and all that kind of stuff. But I wanted to show progress. Progress is always welcome. And we can lift this up and you can see the painted. Now, much more paint to be done, but that's over the rough Bondo and texture paint. And this is more along the lines of what I'm looking for, this Flintstone looking texture. But the only place I can display it, inside I can't really get back far enough and show you the good lighting. So there's the lights on the side. And now I'll take it inside and put it in a darkened room and show it off that way. And here you can see in the darkened room, this is what I'm using for the textures. This is just Rust-Oleum texture sandy paint, but you can kind of get an idea. I think maybe I might put a light in the base that shines down on it. That might be what is missing. But yes, parts of it are still wet. I rushed through just so that I would have something to show. So appreciate that for what it is, and we'll have a finished version of this next week. Well, that's going to bring us to an end of another week. No, we didn't get to this guy, but he's within arm's reach, which means he's closer to being worked on. I spent a lot of time on this, which is still kind of wet and smells to high heaven and all of that kind of stuff, but I wanted to get it at least knocked out. So was enjoying some nice weather today, so it was a good day to have this outside. But now that it's to the point where it is, I should be able to maybe finish it up this weekend as we get into Christmas. You know, I might have to take some time off from building models to actually celebrate, you know, the birth of our Lord and Savior. So sometimes, you know, you gotta prioritize. But if my email today is any indication, it is going to be a very Merry Christmas for me and for all of you as I plan on sharing my bounty. I got one of those cryptic emails today, which I love to get. And like I said, that'll play itself out in the weeks to come. But until then, until next week, when we'll get back to the prawn on the lawn. Have a good week. Have a Merry Christmas. Spend some time with the ones you love. Spend some time with the ones you hate. You know, you might turn out you love them after all. So be good. Be good to each other. Have a Merry Christmas, and we will see you here next year. Actually, we'll see you here next week. I got one more week. I got one more week before next year. So have a good one.